This is CNN Breaking News.
I'm Bobbie Battista at CNN Center in Atlanta, updating one of our top stories now. Police in Evansville, Indiana, say there are fatalities after a military plane crashed into an Indiana restaurant and motel this morning. It is not clear how many people have died, but state police say body bags are being brought onto the site. Several people are believed trapped inside the burning restaurant at this time. The building burst into flames when a C-130 military plane smashed into it just a short time ago. Police and rescue workers are working to pull out survivors. Witnesses say the crash sent flames leaping 50 to 60 feet in the air, and a tower of black smoke can be seen for miles. Officials at Scott Air Force Base in Belleville, Illinois, say the plane had apparently just taken off from the Evansville Regional Airport. Eyewitness Tom Blevins, we understand, was on the scene, and he's on the phone with us now. Tom, what happened?
I had left the airport after picking a person up that I am right now meeting at the plant with, and both of us had watched the plane take off from the airport and bank towards the east over the plant, the Whirlpool facility that I work at. After turning onto the main highway, heading back to the plant and getting in the parking lot, I noticed the plane coming back from a westerly direction. It looked like it was making an attempt to land, but it was in a very steep glide banking pattern. The person that was with me has past Air Force experience, and we knew then that the plane was in trouble, and it took about 10 seconds. It just nosedived into the ground and exploded in a tremendous fireball.
Tom, I know that you're not perhaps equipped to answer this question, but do you know how many fatalities there are at this time, or can guess?
I have no idea the size of the fireball. My assumption is the crew probably perished on impact. I have a supplier that is located within a block of the impact area of the crash and had talked to them, and that's when I first found out that it had struck the motel restaurant complex. The local news media is broadcasting warnings right now for everyone to stay away, and I'm adhering to those warnings.
How close are you to the scene?
When we saw the plane impact, we were less than 1 mile from the impact. This plant is right at the edge of the runway where the plane took off and is less than 3/4 of a mile from the impact site.
And the fire is still burning at this time?
All we can see right now is smoke.
So you don't know whether the fire has engulfed just the restaurant, or is there also a motel in the area? Are we to understand that?
The restaurant and motel are all part of one complex.
Okay, so you don't know how much of it is burning at this time?
I do hear that the north end of the restaurant and the motel have been involved in the accident.
Okay, our thanks to Tom Blevins, an eyewitness on the scene of this military plane crash. Sandy Appler with the Evansville Regional Airport is also on the phone with us at this time. Sandy, the plane took off from your airport. What happened?
It is our understanding that at 9:58 this morning, C-130 transport plane was making a low approach to Evansville Regional Airport runway 22, and it crashed 1 mile south of Evansville Regional Airport into the parking lot of JoJo's Restaurant in connection with the Brewery Inn, which is on U.S. Highway 41 in that complex. The aircraft, it is our understanding, is based out of a guard unit at Sanford Field in Louisville, Kentucky, and again was on low approach to runway 22 at Evansville Regional Airport.
All right, Sandy, we'll have to terminate that conversation as the phone call is difficult to understand due to transmission problems. Again, repeating the top story, a military plane has crashed into a restaurant and motel complex in the Evansville, Indiana area. We do not know how many fatalities there are at this time, but the complex is burning, and rescue workers are on the scene. We'll bring you more information as soon as it becomes available.
Eventually, we're going to have to join the rest of the 20th century and the rest of the other civilized countries and have a more nationalized health care plan.
You go to the doctor and the prices are outrageous.
My doctor, for example, has asked me whether I'm insured, and the price I paid was based on whether I was insured or not. It's a total rip-off.
The nation's health care crisis. From Washington, I'm Reid Collins.
And from CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm Bobbie Battista. Welcome to this special edition of NewsHour, an hour devoted entirely to a vital issue this election year, health care. 9 out of 10 Americans say the ailing health care system needs a quick cure. In less than 30 minutes, President Bush plans to take the wraps off his health care package aimed at addressing those concerns. And we will be bringing you the president's speech live. Watching with us to respond to his plan is a panel ranging from a hospital administrator to a Democratic senator wary of the president's proposal.
Well, from work to home, hospital to ballot box, the questions are how to provide the best care for all and then how to pay for it. The issue is edged onto center stage in this campaign year. President Bush, as we know, is now ready to spell out his plan. Traveling with the president today is CNN's senior White House correspondent, Charles Bierbauer, who joins us now from Cleveland. Charles?
Reid, President Bush is setting the scene here first by visiting a Cleveland hospital due here at what is essentially a Chamber of Commerce luncheon to unveil the details of the plan shortly. White House officials say it has three primary objectives, and that is to tell people in this country how to find health care in the first place, particularly important for those who are unemployed, for the poor, or those particularly who work in small businesses that do not provide health care. Next, how to afford it. This will be done in several ways. For the poorest, those at or near the poverty line, there would be a credit of up to $3,750 for health care. This would be something of a voucher system through which they would receive health care up to $3,750 for families. For the middle class, those in small businesses, as we say, who don't necessarily have health care now, there would be pools formed to provide low-cost care. There would be a combination of credits or deductions which would phase out at varying income levels, starting at about $50,000 for an individual and $80,000 for families, by which time all the credits would be gone. And then the third point is how to keep health care. Two critical points in that. One is to enhance the ability of individuals to transfer the health care they have when they change jobs, and the other is to allow them to maintain coverage for existing medical conditions. One problem in many cases now is that if you have what's called a precondition, you can't get coverage when you change jobs or change health care. This boils down to what the White House, the Bush administration, is calling a health care choice between what, as they put it at the White House, a proven failure. That they say if you go along with some of the nationalized health care plans, such as the Democrats are proposing, either the Canadian system or what the Democrats call pay or play, well, according to the White House, you're adopting a proven failure. Their alternative, as they suggested, would be to reform what is already a high-quality system to include everyone and allow medical choice. Now, one thing we're not going to hear today from the president or the White House staff that's traveling with them is precisely how they are going to pay for this health care plan. It is described as a plan, not legislation. The cost is estimated at $100 billion over the next 5 years, and then an annual cost of about $35 billion. Officials that we've been talking with here say, well, if they're serious about this on Capitol Hill, then we're willing to discuss the ways of paying for it. Some of the things suggested, of course, have been to take some of the inefficiencies out of Medicare, Medicaid programs, cut down on the paperwork, standardize claim procedures, and put some caps on payments that are made now for Medicare. One other thing that is likely to be brought into this would be to increase Medicare payments for those in the highest income brackets, but that's only a fragment of the $100 billion that's needed. Basically, we're now setting the stage for a political confrontation where one administration official here said, if they're serious, if the Democrats don't say it's my plan or your plan, then we can go somewhere. Elsewhere, it may be up to the voters to decide. Charles Bierbauer, CNN, live in Cleveland.
Well, President Bush is unveiling his health care plan in Cleveland to showcase what he considers a good example of a working program. About 85 small businesses there have joined together in a group nicknamed COSY. That stands for Council of Small Enterprises. Together, these businesses are able to purchase employee health insurance at group rates.
It's unphenomenal what they're saving. We know that the rates have not gone up substantially more than 10 to 15%. And that's a lot lower than it was when our rates with the other carrier had shot up about 35%.
Over the long term, as the increases in the costs of our programs have been about a third the general rate of price increase among insurance companies doing business in the area, the savings magnify over time.
COSY's biggest healthcare provider is Blue Cross Blue Shield. That company says the COSY relationship is good for all sides.
And just ahead in this special edition of News Hour, live interviews with some of the policymakers and participants in the national debate over health care. And a report on public frustration over that cost squeeze.
I'm working almost a week just to pay my health care per month. 1 week for taxes and 1 week for your health care, that doesn't leave you a lot of time left.
Freedom's the one. Only one gum passes the test when you've got dental work, and that's Freedent. Freedent won't stick to your dental work, so you can be confident chewing it. And because it also moistens your mouth and freshens your breath, Freedent's in a class by itself.
Freedent's the one that took the stick out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
Some people don't know it, but they're paying too much in taxes. Take these two, identical in many ways. Similar homes, similar income, similar investments. But one could be paying 28% more tax on his savings and investment income. That's over $200 on every $800 earned. The other called Fidelity Investments toll-free and found out how to invest tax-free in this free fact kit on Fidelity tax-free funds. It shows you how to earn income that's 100% free from federal income taxes. And in some states, your income may be free from state and local taxes, too. And there's no sales charge, which means all your money is working for you. So call for your free fact kit on Fidelity Investments tax-free funds. Call right now and you'll also get this bonus booklet, Understanding Tax-Free Investing. See how Fidelity gives you the facts you need to make up your own mind without pressure.
Hello, Fidelity?
Keep more of what you earn. Call 1-800-328-4100 today. Fidelity Investments. Common sense, uncommon results.
Ricola, the all-natural herb cough drop imported from Switzerland. Ricola has been soothing throats and relieving coughs naturally for over 60 years.
It's a party and you're invited. It's the Jam of the Year with a special appearance by Hammer, musical dynamos, and entertainers galore. The NBA All-Star Stay in School Jam, Saturday, February 8th, 12 noon Eastern on TNT.
There's no health care whatsoever in Bush's plan so far that I've seen that's realistic.
I think it's very wise to stick with what we got and just keep developing on it.
The taxpayer ends up picking up the bill one way or the other.
Anything they can do to help people get medical attention and medical care should be done. There's a lot of people out of work. I'm one of them. Yeah. You know, and we need medical care.
Code Blue, healthcare in the United States is in a crisis. Does President Bush have a cure? Our panel on NewsHour today will watch the president's speech with us, then offer their reactions to his proposal. Joining us from our Washington Bureau is Senator J. Rockefeller of West Virginia. Senator Rockefeller strongly supports health care for all. He has been an outspoken critic of the proposals offered in the State of the Union speech. John Rother is the Director of Legislation and Public Policy for AARP, the nation's largest senior citizen advocacy group. Deborah Steelman is also in Washington. She worked as President Bush's domestic policy advisor during his 1988 campaign. And from Miami, Dr. Joseph Simone. He is the director of St. Jude's Children's Hospital, the nation's largest pediatric cancer facility. In these brief few months before the president's speech, let me ask all of you what you are listening for in the president's proposal. Senator Rockefeller? Senator Rockefeller, can you hear me? We appear to have some audio problems with the senator, so we'll move on to another guest at this time and get back to the senator in just a few minutes. Mr. Rother, can we ask you that question? Mr. Rother, can you hear me? No? Okay, we'll straighten out these audio problems and try Dr. Simone in Miami instead of Washington.
St. Jude's.
Dr. Simone, can you hear me?
We're delighted to hear that there's some kind of a plan in the works. That's the most important thing. But I think from press reports early on, the most important thing is how we're going to pay for this. Are they going to take money from Medicare and Medicaid and thus put the inner city hospitals in deeper trouble to pay for some other part of the plan, or what? So I think the most important thing is, are they going to shift money from one program which is underfunded to another program?
All right, Senator Rockefeller, now can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. We've straightened out our audio problems. We're asking all of our panel guests today what they are listening for in the president's proposal. And you? Senator?
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay.
Yes, I can.
What are you listening for in the president's proposal today?
what I want to hear is that we're going to have real universality of health insurance, not just access to health care, but people actually having it, and I mean everybody. And secondly, what's critical is real cost containment. Even if everybody has health insurance, it's not going to make any difference if the cost of health care goes up so sharply as it is now. Strong cost containment has to be the second pillar, along with access to health care.
Deborah Steelman, former Bush domestic policy advisor, what are you looking for? You probably know more than the rest of us what's in it.
Well, the president's going to give people a choice that they really need to make the most important decision on they will face in health care. He's going to ask people, do they want more government insurance and radical changes toward government insurance, or do they want some radical changes in the private insurance to give people better private insurance? I think Americans want some common sense in health care and some action right now, and that's the ball the president's going to start rolling today.
And John Rother with the AARP, what are you concerned about?
I think there are four things that any comprehensive plan has to address. First, the need for everyone to have coverage. Second, comprehensive benefits for those things that are most important to people, like long-term care, prescription drug coverage. Third, effective cost containment to keep it affordable. And fourth, and in this case I think most important, a fair and equitable way to finance the whole thing, because that's really what we need the leadership on.
All right, our thanks to all four of you, and we will be getting back to you for further comments after the president's speech. Reid?
Well, for many people in the United States, even those with health insurance, the present system is somewhat confusing, expensive, and frustrating. More now as we continue our series of reports entitled Democracy in America, the People's Agenda, with CNN's Brooks Jackson.
It's so expensive. For the coverage you get and what you pay, it's just unreal anymore.
It's 2/3 of a paycheck I have to put out every month.
It's the issue that disturbs me the most.
The cost of health care is rising out of control, a cancer on the U.S. economy. Medical costs have become like a tax on workers' pay, and in this election year, that tax is resented, both by workers and business.
This is the biggest problem, the issue of most concern among business people today.
Barbara Balter heads a family-owned construction engineering company. About 1/3 of small businesses offer no health insurance at all. And the rest, the Balter company included, struggle to pay the rising premiums and restrain the cost to employees.
We do a lot of juggling to try to keep the important coverage for the people. What you do is you keep whittling away coverage in order to keep the premiums affordable.
We already sent the binders up.
As the Balter company whittles benefits, employees like Kent Mosmiller find themselves getting less protection but paying much more.
I've been here 19 years. When I first started with them, I think I was paying about $10 a month for my health care, and now I'm paying $286 a month. I'm working almost a week just to pay my health care per month. 1 week for taxes and 1 week for your health care. That doesn't leave you a lot of time left, you know, for yourself.
9 out of 10 people in the U.S. are dissatisfied with the high cost of health care, making it a potent election issue. Between 31 million and 36 million Americans have no health insurance at all. Mostly they are working people or their spouses and children, like the wife of Balter employee John Biedenback.
It cost me an additional $240 a month just to put my wife on a policy. With what I make and the bills I have, there's just no way.
Good day.
Another dollar. See ya.
Bye.
How does she feel about going without insurance?
She hates it. That's all I hear every day is, what if I get sick? What are we going to do? And to be frank, I don't know. I really don't know what we're going to do.
Keith Edwards, another Balter employee, has no health insurance for his wife and their year-old baby. And that's all too common. 1 American child out of every 6 has no health insurance.
it'd take more than half of my paycheck to cover my wife and my child. I can just barely afford to cover myself now. Every day she tells me how she's afraid the baby's gonna have to go to the hospital or something. If he did, I have no idea what we would do.
Balter workers fear their burdens will become even worse. They say their government is doing nothing.
You write your senator, your congressman or something and ask what they intend to do about it. I don't see anything being done in Washington about it.
Barbara Balter's frustration with Washington runs even deeper. Fed up with the steady erosion in her workers' benefits, she went to Washington, lobbied Congress for change, and got nowhere.
It's a very, very difficult matter to get our representatives to understand a problem. They really don't understand the problems. They don't live the problems.
After we talked to Barbara Balter, her company was hit by a rate increase of 95%. They're trying to find another insurance company. The People's Agenda strongly favors change. 9 out of 10 Americans say the U.S. healthcare system is in crisis and needs to be repaired. In one poll, they say by 2 to 1, they want national health insurance financed by tax money. They're not likely to get that from Washington. Uncontrolled medical costs are both a paycheck issue for workers and a bottom line issue for big U.S. corporations. They are being crippled in the international marketplace. One domestic car maker estimates that healthcare costs account for $700 of the price of every car it makes. For Canadians and Japanese who have government health insurance, the costs amount to less than $250 per vehicle. Since 1982, medical prices have risen more than twice as fast as the general rate of inflation. A generation ago, only $1 US in every 17 went for health care, but now it's $1 in every 8, more than in any other nation in the world, and headed for $1 in every 6 by the end of this decade.
I don't have any insurance at this time right now because the insurance cost is too high.
Rick Dujardin is one of those millions who work and still cannot afford health insurance. But Rick's wife, Sondra, is living a nightmare, one that many Americans fear. She had health insurance at her job, but lost it when she needed it most.
I built my way up into the company. I became a supervisor. I loved my job. And then I got very ill. And my doctor told me, you either quit work or you're going to die.
Without income, she could not continue her health insurance. The disease that forced her to quit work is lupus. It's debilitating and sometimes fatal.
It's like something eating at your body. It's inside and you can't control it. I get blisters on my face. My joints swell just like somebody with arthritis. It's hard to walk sometimes.
Rick also has health problems, asthma. And since neither of them have health insurance, they go without medicine they need.
This one I can't take. That's a necessity, but I can't take it because it's $70. This one my husband can't take because it's $70. This one I can't take because it's expensive. This one I can't take. And this one I can't take. We had a choice one time to make of whether to buy food, groceries, or to buy prescriptions. Of course, I was real sick at the time, so we bought the prescriptions.
Rick and Sondra were married 2 years ago. To save money, they now live with his parents, but they dream of their own home and search for something they can afford.
We want a house just like everybody else. We want a baby. But, of course, the medical cost and the money, all that has to go towards bills.
Definitely not work.
Nice area.
For Sondra, it's a stark choice between the dream of a home or her health. Her doctor wants her to continue a series of $2,000 hospital treatments. Without them, her disease could grow worse.
You can die from it. It's a fatal disease. So that's why I want so much in life. I mean, you never know if I might not have the chance to get it.
Did you ever worry that something like this might happen to you?
No, who does? It makes both of us mad. You know, I'm sick, and you feel like it's the sick people that need the insurance, but that's not true. The only way you'll get insurance is if you're healthy. I'm always saying to him, you know, why can't the government help us? Why can't they come out with a health plan for people that have low income or normal income? Doesn't make sense.
I'm Brooks Jackson, CNN Special Assignment.
Republican and Democratic leaders disagree on how best to tackle the problem of rising health care costs. Most Americans disagree as well. We've asked people for their solutions to the health care crisis, and here are some of their answers.
Give incentive to somebody like the professional associations to regulate their own and to make their own the very best and the highest quality available in the world.
I think the basic health plans for children should be changed and old people, but there should be included a health plan for unemployment for people that don't work, but the people that don't want to work, I think that is a problem, a good ongoing problem.
Make it available to everyone. Right now, if I lost my job, I wouldn't have health care, and it'd be devastating to me.
You're going to have to find a way to eliminate abuse of the insurance system. It's the main problem you've got. People overcharging because they think the insurance companies can soak it up. Which they can to a point, but there's a limit.
There should be some type of governmental control on health care overall to make it affordable for everybody.
It would be good when it would be socialized medicine like in Canada. I came from Canada. But maybe someday they'll do it. It will take time. We need money. Money has to come from somebody, right?
Well, President Bush is about to reveal his suggested health care package in Cleveland, and we'll continue with that in a minute.
Hey, there I go again. Yeah, you always kept me going. Dad, did you ever think to yourself, someday that little guy will have his own baby?
No, not really. I was too busy thinking, how can I afford to raise this kid?
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about with Brian. How can I afford it?
Well, I'll tell you how I did it.
Since 1928, families have invested with Scudder, America's first family of no-load funds.
Imagine this is Florida, and that's Walt Disney World, SeaWorld, Universal Studios, Epcot Center. And this is Kissimmee St. Cloud, offering the closest and most affordable accommodations in the middle of Central Florida's best attractions. Call 1-800-358-KISS, and we'll send you our free vacation guide with information on affordable hotels and campgrounds. So if you can stay here, why stay anywhere else? Kissimmee St. Cloud. Location is our biggest attraction.
In a world no bigger than the sandbox, no deeper than the mud between toes, it's spray and wash that has gotten out the food, grease, and grass that little ones get into more than any other stain remover ever made. And that has given more mothers the quiet strength to send them back out into that little world to do it all over again. More than any other stain remover, spray and wash gets out what America gets into.
Updating our breaking story now, a National Guard spokesman tells the Associated Press that 5 crew members of a military plane are feared dead after the plane crashed into an Indiana restaurant this morning. Still no word on casualties inside the restaurant, but at least 5 persons were being treated for injuries at a nearby hospital. The restaurant burst into flames when the C-130 transport plane nosedived into a parking lot next to the JoJo's restaurant, then exploded in a fireball. A National Transportation Safety Board official says the plane had been practicing touch-and-go landings and takeoff procedures at the airport near the motel when it crashed. The C-130 reportedly was based with an Air National Guard unit in Louisville, Kentucky. To get back down to the occasion of the president's speech, we're still waiting for him to begin his address in Cleveland, and we'll go there live when he does.
Many believe it was the innovative spirit of Europe that inspired him. And And when Mr. Ford came home, he created Lincoln Continental. Today, with computerized suspension, electronic transmission, and anti-lock brakes, Continental is one of the most advanced automobiles in the world. Lincoln Continental, what a luxury car should be.
With the uncertainty of today's real estate market, many would-be home buyers have adopted a wait-and-see attitude. Your Coldwell Banker agent, on the other hand, thinks it's time to wake up to the possibilities. Home prices may never be this affordable again. Interest rates may never be this attractive. Altogether, it's a great time to buy a home. All it takes is opening your eyes to the opportunities and knowing who to call. Coldwell Banker. Expect the best.
Mince fresh herbs and spices. Slice or dice celery, onions, garlic. Chop nuts and make homemade pasta too. Introducing Roll-O-Magic, the hand-controlled food processor that works like a power mower. As its 5 supersized magical roller blades, chop onions and mince garlic as coarse or fine as you like. Mince fresh parsley, basil, and dill. Slice or dice celery for salads or stir-fry dishes. Make carrot sticks and celery sticks. Turn cabbage into coleslaw or health salad. Make homemade pasta and noodles. Roll-O-Magic is easy to clean. Just wash and let dry. Its blades are stainless steel and never need sharpening. The pressure of your hand is all that's needed. Roll-O-Magic can be yours for only $19.95. Get a mincer, slicer, dicer, chopper, and pasta maker. Plus, you'll also get this special recipe book and guide to fresh herbs and spices.
Credit card users call toll-free 1-800-257-1257 or send check or money order plus $4 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. Sorry, no CODs. Credit card users call 1-800-257-1257.
This is CNN.
Well, as we continue with our special report this hour on health care, and we await the president's proposal of his health care reform package in Cleveland in just a few moments, let's go back to our panel of experts and analysts. We will be talking with them periodically through the hour with Senator J. Rockefeller of West Virginia, with John Rother of the AARP, with Deborah Steelman, former Bush domestic policy advisor, and with Dr. Joseph Simone of St. Jude's Hospital. Deborah, let me ask you, skyrocketing costs is clearly a main concern for most Americans, and there doesn't seem to be any indication at this point that the president will address that issue directly in his proposal. Do you think that'll be an area of omission?
No, he's got a quite extensive cost containment proposal as a part of this. Basically, he sets up the argument that do people trust the government to contain costs, or do people trust the private sector and their own insurance policies and working with the hospital system themselves to contain costs? I don't think anybody's looking to have their insurance program run by the post office or the IRS. They want private insurance to work for them. And that's the proposal the president will outline. People want to know if they can get their insurance, if they can keep the insurance, and if the insurance is affordable. And the president's plan covers all three of those elements.
Senator Rockefeller, do you see it that way?
No, I certainly don't. In fact, he misses on all of those elements. There isn't any serious cost containment. We're not talking about government running a health care system. The health care system is running itself now on a voluntary basis, and that's what's gotten us in all of this trouble. That's why all the people on your pre-game show or pre-speech show are hurting so badly. We need cost containment and total access to health care coverage, and the president, unless he changes his mind right now, isn't going to deliver it.
John Rother of the AARP, much speculation about the president's plan to cut Medicare and Medicaid in order to finance this proposal. Will this hurt Medicare beneficiaries?
If the proposal does cut Medicaid and Medicare $100 billion in order to finance this plan, it would be reverse Robin Hood, stealing from the poor in order to fund a program to help the poor. I don't think that that's going to be in, at least I certainly hope not. I hope the president's reconsidered, because I don't think that would be very good health policy, and I don't think it would be a constructive approach to solving the problem.
Dr. Simone, for what you know of the president's proposal thus far, how do you anticipate that it will affect hospital care?
It depends on how it's funded, of course. If the insurance coverage broadens and covers more people, especially those who are employed and can't afford insurance, it would certainly improve hospital care and accessibility for people. But if it's taken from one pocket to put in the other pocket, then the hospitals will simply be cost shifting to try to cover those people who aren't covered, particularly in inner cities where this is a major problem.
Bobbie?
Yes, Senator, go ahead.
You know, the president has an enormous opportunity here. The American people are waiting for his leadership on health care. We're not talking about tinkering around the edges. I mean, the health care crisis in this country is massive. It takes massive reform to do not only health insurance availability, but also cost containment. I mean, what the people have to understand that we're talking about the second biggest problem in this country other than joblessness. Tinkering at the edges does not work. The question is, will the president provide availability of health care insurance for everyone in this country? And will there be top cost containment? If the answer is no, it's a flunk.
Deborah, let me tell you the kind of massive reform I'd like to see. Right now, I'm a small business owner, and I'm trying to buy insurance for my 5 employees. We hired 3 new people, and we need to hire insurance to get insurance for everyone. The bids that we've received from the insurance companies, both of the 2 bids we got, exclude each of my employees for some condition for life. Now, I want insurance now. That's the kind of massive reform I want. I want to be able to provide insurance to my employees, and my employees deserve it. Those are the kinds of massive reforms the president's talking about, and that's what the people of this country want right now. We have an opportunity this year to do those kinds of reforms if we don't get sidetracked in political wrangling. And that's what I hope to see come about as a result of the president's speech.
All right.
Bobbie, I hope she's right. And all of us in the Congress want to work with the president, and I hope he lays out a program that we really can sink our teeth into and pass. I hope he does.
Okay, well, we will be continuing this debate through the hour, and as we understand that the president is close to presenting his proposal on health care reform, and we'll be going to that momentarily. Back to Reid now in Washington.
Well, as you indicated, the president has been busy touring various facilities of the university hospitals of Cleveland. Now he is in the City Plaza Hotel in a speech to the Greater Cleveland Growth Association. He's going to outline the administration's health care proposals, and now he does it.
Mike, thank you very, very much. Thank you all for that. Welcome back. Thank you, guys. Please. Thank you very much for that. Welcome back to Cleveland. And first, let me thank Dick Pogue for the chairman of the Greater Cleveland Growth Association and all who helped make this wonderful forum possible. I'm pleased to be back here in Cleveland, the capital city of the North Coast. And hello to Bob Horton, who I understand not only warmed up the crowd, but made it very difficult for me to come on as the next speaker. I salute what he and so many other business leaders in this community have done and are doing. You always get this feeling of cooperation between the business community and the government of Cleveland, the city government. I had that when I first came here, and Mayor Ralph Perk was in office. And particularly did I get that feeling when George Voinovich came in as your mayor and energized this place to a fare thee well, and business pitched right in. And you have this wonderful community spirit that this organization really epitomizes, Dick, and I'm grateful to be here. And so let me get on with just saying I'm very pleased to have been introduced by George Voinovich, the great governor of this state now. And may I salute Mike DeWine, who is over here, the lieutenant governor. And we've got some other friends with us too. I know that Bob Taft is out here, the Secretary of State. 3 distinguished members of the United States Congress came with us, Ralph Regula and Mike Oxley and Dave Hobson. And I'm sure I'll forget somebody, but nevertheless, I see our State Senate President Stan Aronoff sitting over here. So that takes care of it. We got good representation from Ohio's government. We got good representation from a wonderful congressional delegation, and we have outstanding representation here from the medical community and, of course, from the business community at large. Good things are happening here for the Cleveland Cavs. A great season, and in fact, fact, I told told the governor I was going to be speaking today about the #1 health issue on every Clevelander's mind. And he said, Mr. President, Mark Price's left knee is just fine. So people who know Northern Ohio know that this region's on the move. In addition to the world-renowned Cleveland Clinic, now the city's #1 employer, Northern Ohio is also home to some of the most innovative approaches to health care. COSE, COSY, and Cleveland Health Quality Choice are pioneers. Communities across the country can follow your lead to create workable solutions to health care challenges. And I had a briefing in Washington from the leaders of these organizations, and that really is why I've chosen to come to Cleveland this morning to address the health care crisis in our country and lay out my 4-point program for comprehensive health care reform. Reform is urgent for more reasons than one. Right now, far too many Americans are uninsured, and those who are insured pay too much for health care. And we are going to do something about that. The one thing this crisis isn't about, and I was reminded of this in my visit to the hospital just now, the one thing it is not about is the quality of care. American health care is first rate. It is the best in the entire world. And right now, the vast majority of Americans have access to that health care system. But the cost has skyrocketed from $74 billion in 1970 to $800 billion today. And if we keep going at the same rate, that $800 billion will double to $1.6 trillion by the year 2000. These numbers alone would make the case for reform. They tell us there's a connection we simply can't ignore between what we pay for health care and the long-term health of our economy. But cold statistics don't show us the worry that people feel, the all too familiar fear about what happens to their health care if they change jobs, or worse still, if they lose their jobs. And in these hard times, we simply cannot accept the fact that 1 in every 7 Americans is uninsured. There's a better way, and my plan puts the emphasis on expanding access while preserving the choice people now have over the type of health care coverage and health care they receive. My plan will give Americans a greater sense of security, help ease the fears that so many Americans have that changing jobs will cost them their health coverage. And the key here is portability. Changing the system to ensure people that they'll always have access to health insurance, no matter where they work. And finally, my plan will cut costs. It helps us make health insurance more affordable, and more affordable means more accessible. And my plan will preserve what works and reform what doesn't. And above all, it will ensure every American universal access to affordable health insurance. We stand at a crossroads. We can move forward dramatically to reform our market-based system, or we can force ourselves to swallow a cure worse than the disease. Some people have scribbled out a prescription for disaster. They want to nationalize our health system, put the government in control of the system. Will you let government control the prices? Let government ration the kind of health care people get. Let government tell people looking for care how much they'll get, what kind, and when. Nationalized systems cover everyone, but keep in mind the drawbacks that come with a nationalized system. Long waiting lists for surgery, shortages of high-tech equipment responsible for so many of the miracles of modern medicine. Let me cite just one example for you. The Cleveland Clinic performs 10 coronary bypass surgeries a day, I'm told. High-tech, high-quality surgery without any wait. But if you live in British Columbia, the wait for coronary bypass surgery is 6 months. It is no wonder so many people from abroad come to American hospitals for surgery. And when you nationalize health care, you push costs higher, far higher. Some studies estimate that nationalized health care would cost the average American family a huge new tax burden. For the nation, a staggering $250 to $500 billion a year in new taxes. Such a massive tax increase is simply unacceptable, and the American people should not be asked to accept it. And for that price, you get the worst of both worlds. No one has an incentive to control costs, and everyone pays. But there are other proposals out there that sound simple but are every bit as harmful. One's called play or pay. Each employer must play, meaning provide insurance for employees or pay a payroll tax to finance government health coverage. Businessmen and women tell me horror stories about health care costs spiraling out of control. Will play or pay will leave a lot of small businesses struggling on the edge of survival right now, with a tough choice. They can cut workers' wages to pay for mandated health care. They can fire some workers to cover the workers they keep, or they can raise prices and pass along to the cost to the consumer. Some studies put the cost in jobs lost under play or pay as high as $500,000 or more. Lower wages, lost jobs, higher costs. Any way you look at it, that's the wrong choice for America. Now, step away the rhetoric, strip it out of there, and play or pay just creates a backdoor route to nationalize health care, and it encourages employers to stop offering benefits, throw the problem in the government's lap, and dump millions of fully insured workers into a public plan like Medicaid. And because the new employer taxes in play or pay don't pay for the program, the American taxpayer will obviously foot the bill. And I am not about to let that happen. You won't hear this from the people pushing play or pay. Ask them about the side effects of their proposal, and they'll say, take 2 aspirin and call me after the election. I don't believe people want to be shoveled into some new health care bureaucracy. They want good health. A large part of the answer is prevention. And every one of us can make changes in our behavior to reduce the risk of disease and illness. And pardon me for being just a little bit old-fashioned, but what we're talking about is behavior, drugs, alcohol abuse, risky sexual behavior. You know what I'm talking about. And there's nothing wrong with discussing that, trying to do better in this field. Tomorrow in San Diego, I'll focus in more detail on the ways prevention can help people live healthier lives and help keep our economy healthy too. But today, I want to focus on the healthcare system, on this comprehensive market-based reform plan I have. The fact is, we do not have to create a new government bureaucracy to give Americans access to affordable, quality health care. We need a system that delivers, a system that works for America, a system that puts quality care within reach of every American family. Our system should be built on choice, not central control. It should keep costs down and open up access. But above all, it should allow all Americans to rest secure when it comes to health care, to ease their worry that if they change jobs, if they or their kids develop serious health problems, they'll still be able to count on the coverage they need. Now, my comprehensive 4-point plan meets every one of these common sense tests. And here's how it works. Point 1, we will make health care more accessible by making health insurance more affordable. For low-income individuals and families, I propose a health insurance credit up to $3,750 a year to guarantee people, even people too poor to file taxes, the ability to purchase private health insurance. That will give these families a certificate or voucher to be used strictly for health care worth more than $300 a month. And they can use it to buy into the plan their employers offer, but they could never afford. Or they can shop for whatever private plan suits them best. That's the American commitment to choice at its best. For middle-income individuals and families, I propose a health insurance tax deduction of $3,750. American families with incomes under $80,000 will receive new help from either the credit or the tax deduction. And let me tell you what that means. New help to purchase health insurance for 95 million Americans. And once again, this insurance will be portable. People who change jobs would have insurance regardless of their health. And this is important, or regardless of their family's health. But best of all, my plan will bring health care coverage to almost 30 million uninsured Americans. Security to people who far too long have had to do without. And that's the first point in this 4-point plan, access. Point 2, we will cut the runaway costs of health care by making the system more efficient. Today I'm asking you to learn a new acronym, HIN, Health Insurance Networks. Insurance costs obey the law of large numbers. The larger the group being insured, the lower the cost per individual. Pooling lowers insurance costs and significantly cuts administrative costs. HINs will provide incentives for small companies to do what Cleveland's Cozy Group has done when it brought 10,000 small businesses together to make a joint purchase of health care. The nation should listen and follow. Another way to drive costs down, make everyone a better health care consumer. Right now, most people pay more attention to the price of toothpaste than the comparative costs of health care. People don't waste much time thinking about the costs of their care, but in the end, we all pay the price. We need to follow the lead of initiatives like Cleveland Health Quality Choice, programs that give people shopping for health care a kind of blue book for medical costs. Innovations like these will help all of us keep the costs of quality health care as low as possible. Point 3, we will wring out waste and excess in the present system. We've targeted medical malpractice for reform. It is time to put an end to these astronomical, sky's the limit lawsuits. You shouldn't have to pay a lawyer when you go to the doctor. And our doctors, the most able Our doctors, the most able and dedicated in the entire world, shouldn't be living in fear of these outrageous lawsuits. And high malpractice premiums mean higher doctors' bills, higher hospital costs, costs passed along not only to the patient, but to every single American taxpayer. Now, I have challenged the health insurance industry to cut red tape, to share common forms, to simplify and speed up claims processing. And here's a challenge for the next 4 years. There is no reason almost all health insurance claims can't be processed electronically. That single step would eliminate a mountain of healthcare paperwork and pare back costs. We've got to attack the excesses of mandated benefits. When states now order health insurers to cover 1,000 different types of treatment, something's gone wrong. Next thing, they're covering manicures for Millie. It's gone too far. And I think everybody knows it. We should challenge the states to do something about the excessive mandates that shoot these costs right up through the roof. Fourth, and finally, we will get the growth in government health programs under control. Right now, government health care programs can claim a dubious distinction. They are the fastest growing parts in the federal budget. For those of you interested in history, go back and listen to what was said about these programs at their inception. Go back and hear the rhetoric on the floor of the United States Congress. And now compare that to what actually has happened in these costs. This year alone, Medicaid, this year alone, let me repeat that, Medicaid costs will increase by 38%. We will not, repeat not, cut benefits. We can make real savings simply by reducing this huge rate of increase. We must bring runaway costs under control. Smart, sensible efficiencies will help our reform plan pay for itself. The federal government should also give states flexibility to design these new universal access programs for the poor, programs that will provide quality services to all their citizens. I've just met with Governor Voinovich and the rest of the governors. Regardless of party, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter, they want flexibility, and we must give it to them. Right here in Ohio, your governor has proposed health care reforms that will do for this state what we want to do on the federal level. States should be able to use new federal resources to design programs that work, not some one-size-fits-all solution imposed by Washington, D.C. Providing affordable care, efficient care, wringing out excess and waste, and controlling federal growth. These 4 points will create the kind of market-based reform plan that will give Americans the kind of health care they want and deserve, and put an end to the worry that keeps them awake at night. Remember what people want. People want quality care, care they can afford, and care they can count on, care they can rely on. I keep coming back to what works for this country. Think about the challenges that we face as a nation. Anyone who is concerned about competitiveness has to see controlling health care costs as key to a healthy economy. We've got to make certain our reform corrects our weaknesses without destroying our strengths. And when we talk about health care, we're talking about matters of the most personal nature. In some cases, literally life and death, decisions that go with it. We don't need to put government between patients and their doctors. We don't need to create another wasteful federal bureaucracy. As president, I simply will not let that happen. We need common sense, comprehensive health care reform, and we need it now. And my plan, I really believe, is the right plan. A plan that meets our obligation to all Americans by putting hope and health within their reach. Cleveland has led the way. Your hospitals, cozy, citizens in this community way out front for these principles. And it's most appropriate that I give this speech to the nation on health care reform right here in this city that is leading the way. Once again, my thanks for this warm Cleveland welcome, and may God bless you all in the United States of America. Thank you very, very much.
And so, President Bush has outlined his health care program in his speech in Cleveland, Ohio. It features vouchers for the poor, as much as $1,250 per year for those individuals below the poverty line in order to buy health insurance. For those in the upper income bracket, aid takes the form of tax deductions as much as $1,050 per individual in income tax savings and as much as $3,750 per family. This plan would be phased in over 5 years' time, would cost an estimated $100 billion over these 5 years, and then would level off at about $35 billion a year thereafter. The money is to come from savings in Medicaid and Medicare, as we have heard, also from a pooling of risks, the HIN principle, or health insurance networks, also something to dampen or curtail the vast awards won in malpractice lawsuits, which the president does not indicate exactly how he's to stop, but he got some applause when he mentioned it. And that in outline is what the president said. Bobbie?
Well, let's toss the proposal to our panel of analysts one last time for a brief dissection, and a reminder that we only have a minute or so for a brief summary comment from all of you. Senator J. Rockefeller, your reaction?
The president mentioned some good things, Bobbie, managed care, malpractice reform, some modest health insurance reform. But I just got to tell you, I am so profoundly disappointed that he didn't seize the moment. There is not universal health care insurance in this plan. It is simply not there, and there is not cost containment. To the average family in West Virginia, what his plan on the deductibles would mean, they're making $28,000, it'll mean about $500 or $600 towards the cost of $7,000 of health insurance on an annual basis. It just doesn't help. For the poor, 70% of Americans who don't have health insurance are above 100% of poverty, and they're all going to miss out on the president's plan. It just doesn't do it, and I'm really disappointed. I don't know why he hasn't reached farther.
Thank you, Senator. John Rother of the AARP.
Well, the president, the most important thing to say is that the president is now addressing the issue, an absolutely urgent issue that we need the president to take some leadership on. I didn't hear the president say how this plan would be financed, and I think that's a central point in this whole debate is how can we fairly own up to the cost of fixing our health care system. Second point is the president's rolling the dice here. He's putting all of his eggs on the private insurance sector and getting them to try to correct some of the abuses that they've been guilty of in the past. And he seemed to downgrade the potential of public programs like Medicare, which are currently doing a good job of making sure that people can afford to see health care and provides choice at a very reasonable rate. So I think it's a roll of the dice, puts it all on the private sector, and it doesn't have very much in it for middle-class families who are suffering under the kind of year-to-year cost increases that we're seeing today.
Thank you, John. Dr. Joseph Simone of St. Jude's.
Well, I think the most important thing I heard was that he was going to try to make health care accessible to everyone. If it translated that way, this would be wonderful. That everyone would have coverage of some kind or another, either through cost savings or through some insurance that was spread out over the people who are uninsured presently. The question is really whether this can be accomplished and whether people are going to fall in the cracks. Certainly a goal would be to have every single American, man, woman, and child, covered by some kind of insurance. And if that is accomplished through this plan, it would be wonderful. The rest of it is a little fuzzier, I think, as to how it's going to be accomplished in reforming the malpractice programs and in shifting money from Medicare and Medicaid. I'm not sure how that's going to play out and what that will do to inner city hospitals, teaching hospitals, and their ability to care for the poor in inner cities.
Doctor, our thanks to you. And finally, Deborah Steelman, President Bush's former domestic policy advisor.
Well, I think the president did what a leader does. He put the choice starkly before the American people. He said, do you want a radical new government program, or do you want radical changes in the private sector? And that's clearly what the president stands for. He told us what he stands for. Make insurance work for people, not against people. Make sure you have insurance when you leave or change jobs. Get the lawyers out of the middle of everything. And do it now. The good thing about the president's proposal is many members in the Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, have already endorsed many of these principles. So the president is putting forward a plan that we can do now. And I think he wants to get the job done and wants to get on with it. And I think that's very exciting. Thank you.
Our thanks to all of our panelists for this special edition of NewsHour today, focusing on the nation's health care crisis.
Thank you, Bobbie. I'm Reid Collins in Washington. Stay tuned now for Sonia Live, and we'll have an update also on the Evansville, Indiana plane disaster.
The sicker somebody seems to get, the more penalties they have to pay for that.
And the people that really need the help don't get it.
Before you really buy something, you should thoroughly investigate it. I took a chance this time and try to save a couple of dollars.
I found that the service wasn't there. So I went to AT&T and stayed with AT&T.
I don't want gimmicks. I want a long-distance phone company I can count on.
If you miss dealing with the long-distance company you can depend on, it's easy to come back to AT&T. Call 1-800-392-6999 and we'll switch you for free.
And I've tried every long-distance phone company that's out there.
After a few months, I said, forget it. I'm giving up on it. And I wanted to switch back to AT&T.
And I mean, I really feel that AT&T gives me the best service for what I want.
People who've seen what's out there are coming back for the service they deserve. Call AT&T right now, and we'll have you back in no time.
And the reason we switched initially was because of the, we're going to see this dramatic drop in our phone bill, and we didn't.
I mean, what's the point? They can't offer me substantially cheaper rates from what I've seen.
At AT&T, when we promise you savings, you get them. In fact, nobody gives you more ways to save. Come back now for free.
And it was just like a hassle figuring out both bills, both sets, and so we just said, hey, we just scrapped it and just now we get one phone bill and that's it. It's a lot easier to pay.
I think the reason I've stayed with AT&T is because it's always been easy.
AT&T makes everything easy, even switching back. Call now.
If I'm going to call my sister up in Canada, I want to hear, her voice, and if she sighs, I want to hear it. So I use AT&T.
I really like AT&T.
1-800-392-6999. For the service and quality only AT&T guarantees. Right now, we'll switch you for free. What a great time to come back.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello, I'm Lou Waters at CNN Center. An update now on a military C-130 transport plane attached to the Kentucky Air National Guard on a training mission over Evansville, Indiana, which crashed this morning into a hotel restaurant complex in Evansville. We are now getting reports of as many as 28 people dead. The Associated Press quotes the Vandenberg County coroner, Charles Outhouse, as saying 5 crew members and 23 people on the ground have been killed. The plane spewed fuel that sent flames shooting more than 60 feet into the air at first. At last report, police and rescue workers were trying to free at least 2 people believed still trapped in the JoJo's restaurant complex that was hit. The plane crashed just before 10 a.m. Central Time. The restaurant motel complex is located on US 41, about a mile from the Evansville airport. Now, this crash marks the second time in 4.5 years that a military plane has crashed into a hotel in Indiana. In October of 1987, 10 people died when an Air Force fighter jet crashed into Armada Inn Airport in Indianapolis. CNN will bring you the latest details on this morning's plane crash throughout the afternoon.
Hello and welcome to our Thursday show. For the families of United States servicemen still unaccounted for in Vietnam, the pain never goes away. Renewed over the years by reported sightings and recently by